all right. Here we are. Let's get that banner out of here. So, welcome back to Urban Academia. I'm J-Zilla. My man to the left, Chulo Rich. How you
What's
doing, man?
going on, brother? What's going on, man?
Same old, my man. Same old. So, look, we're back into it. More culture talk. This week, we're getting into the culture of good teachers. Talk to me a little bit about that, man. What's wrong with our teachers today?
What's wrong with them?
Or what's right with them?
uh, you know, I don't want to say there's anything wrong with them, but I will say, you can look at the products they putting out, and you can tell that a lot might not be sticking, or maybe they're not putting the right things in, or maybe not making the right assessments of what they need, or maybe just giving them some pre-scripted bullshit.
Well, there's that. Right? There is that. So look, I know what I when I hear you say pre-scripted, right? I feel like I have an idea. What do you mean by that? I'll let you speak for yourself.
I just mean that a lot of what we are fed is unnecessary. Things that add to other cultures and not necessarily our own. Um, we maybe learn a lot about how other cultures um, are supposed to do things and things that they have done. And then we go out in the world and try to do those things. And we don't look right. We don't sound right. We don't walk right. We don't talk right.
The
So,
assimilation, right?
right.
So for people who were enslaved and taken from their homes and had their culture stripped, their language and humanity stripped, and then go on for centuries, right? Just following along the program, trying not to die or get tortured, beat, raped, murdered, whatever, as often.
Right.
As we covered in the book club, we listened to the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass as he who was a slave himself is describing very explicitly how slavery worked in his region. I mean, it's pretty terrible. That's a pretty rough way to start off anywhere, right? And then civil war happens, and then we're technically free, and then it takes forever to get to Texas, and that's why we celebrate Juneteenth. All these things, right? But then we're told now, skip ahead to modern times, to pull yourself up by your bootstrap, right? And just be better. This is America. All you gotta do is work really, really hard, and then you'll get XYZ, the American dream, which is an amalgamation of everybody's separate dreams, right? So when you talk about pre-scripted, that hits me a little bit differently, right? Just going along with the program, what you were taught and told. But I think we've done a pretty good job as a race of people to just pick and choose little bits and pieces from different people's culture and what's worked and sort of make it our own while allowing our natural inclinations to kind of shine through, i.e., rhythm and all that sort of thing, right? So, what are you saying to somebody who's just like, hey, man, quit your crying and just pull yourself up by your bootstrap, right?
I mean, first off, I say, you know, I ain't done no crying, not in pertaining to you. Um, Secondly, I say, who gave us these boots? Where these even come from? You know
Who
what I
gave
mean?
us
Like,
these boots?
how am I supposed to be able to do this? What's the plan to do it? And if there is a plan to do it, why do you make me go to school every day and then I leave without the plan to do it? What did I go there for? You know, um, it should not just be hours in the day throughout the 12 to 14 years, that you just sit there and take in useless information that you're not going to use anymore. You know
Right.
what I mean? I've heard kids say that to teachers for years. They're not just saying the shit because it's funny. You know what I mean? Maybe some of them were. Um, there's some truth there. You know what I mean? But they don't have any power in that situation. I don't believe. I believe they have a curriculum. And that's what it says they got to do. That's what they do. I think some of them try to sneak something extra in. They fire those people. So
Mm.
I don't know what it is. Um, you got to go higher, I guess. I guess that's where our culture has to do some more changing. I mean, I guess from what I understand, we used to vote. We used to put parties together.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to vote again. You know what I mean? We're gonna have to vote to change some of those things. We want the curriculum changed. We gotta give it to mayor. You know what I mean? We gotta get with some of the politicians that are close ranked to us and let them know we don't agree with what's happening. You know, see what can be done about it.
So that's the thing you're talking about, right? Deciding your intention when you say you want to help. So that's us, right? When we talk about helping someone, like what is our intent? What is our follow through, and what is it in? That's kind of what we're discussing in today's episode. Which again, for those of you who may just be joining us, we're continuing culture talk, the culture of good teachers. And so we're not just talking about classroom teachers, we're saying in every aspect of teaching, coaching, even even your neighborhood dealer or whatever. There's something to be learned from everything. If you're gonna be successful in anything, you have to understand that there are no failures. There are just little lessons and recalibrations, right? So when you're talking about what is their intention, now their intention, I mean, which is why we even have a bell schedule in school, is to get you ready to work at a factory or in the field somewhere or something like that. And you don't want it to go any further. Then you have a bell schedule like we do in our classes, right? If
Never
you look at the
thought about
history
it
of
like
that,
that, man.
yeah, if you
Cattle
look at the
call.
history of it, it's literally just getting you ready for when to take lunch, when to take breaks, right? When to go
Like
home,
a
when
cattle
to
call.
start work. Everything is mapped out. I mean, it's all the way through our entire systemic makeup. We Americans, right? So the ideal is, what do we do? What's the intent? And if you guys want to, join in the conversation, don't be afraid to click this link right there in the comments. Follow the prompts, okay, and then just come on in and talk with us. So we're talking about the culture of good teachers. So when we're talking about intention, so you've kind of laid out what you think the intentions are, right? For a certain group of people to keep some people down while elevating themselves and others, right? So to counteract that, how do we do that in our communities, in our households, within ourselves, probably most importantly, right? Because we don't want to make this about the boogeyman who's out to get us. Most things can be solved from the inside out. So how do we start to do that?
Well, I mean, first off, um, we got to talk within our homes. You know what I mean? We get on here and we talking. That's cool. How many of the people that get on here and watch it all talk in your house? You know what I mean? Can you have these conversations in your household? You have them, you know, with your homeboy, with your cousin, with your friend. You know what I mean? Um, and like we said, being intentional. You know, setting our intentions up front for what it is that we want to do, um,
Mm-hmm.
and following through with that. You know what I mean? It's one thing to set intentions; it's another thing to follow through with them intentions. You know, what is that? New Year's resolutions and shit every year.
Yeah.
You know, um,
So I feel it. Yeah.
yeah, it's one thing to set intentions. You know what I mean? And we don't want to set them just for the fun to set them. You know what I mean? If you're gonna set intentions,
Yeah. So
have a
when
reason
we
and follow through.
we want to do this step by step, though, right? The
Right.
idea of, let's look at assessments, because some people don't even recognize. You and I had a conversation the other day where we're talking about how some teachers don't even recognize, a kid who quote unquote is a mischievous kid or has problems. Like, hey, maybe he belongs in the arts. Maybe we, have him focus on, theater and performance. Maybe he's supposed to be a stand-up. Maybe he's supposed to be some sort of actor, actress, entertainer. You
Right.
know, so talk to me a little bit about, making the
As far
appropriate
as
assessment.
that goes, man, that's a part of what coaches do. I know that because
Right.
I've been an athlete, and I've coached as well. And from my experience and my understanding, I got the most out of a kid by sitting back and watching him. Day one, we introduce ourselves and we play the game. Um, we
Hmm.
we don't do anything. They play the game.
Right.
We have an introduction. I throw the ball out. They play. I sit back and I watch. I look and I see who does what naturally. You know what I mean? Naturally, everybody's going to have something that they excel at,
Right.
or that they don't. Um, and then it's up to you to look at that individual and say, within the spectrum of what I'm trying to do, how can I place you best to help me, to help you, to help us as a team, and that's the job of a coach. Every player is not going to come in and know where they belong. It's up to you sometimes to be able to look at them and say, you belong here. I can tell you belong because you're more fit than this kid. You belong here because you have better vision than this kid. And being
Right.
able to explain that to the kids and make sure they understand each person has a working role in this system, so that each kid respects the next kid's role in that system. You know what I mean? So, yeah, our teachers got to be able to see. They need eyes. They need eyes. They need ears. And I don't believe they're permitted to use those all the time. I really believe they just got to go with the curriculum. And I think the
Right.
rest of them don't really give a shit. It's not my kid. I work here, 9 to 5, going home. You know, I can't blame you, but at the same time, if that's how you feel about the kids, maybe you should do something else. You know, you should just let somebody teach that really gives a damn whether they're homeless when they're growing up.
Now that's interesting, because the ideal is, especially for those teachers who may think, I think I could do this, but then they get there and they're overwhelmed and it's like, I don't have time or the resources. I got these school loans I got to pay out. Then it becomes just about coming in, clocking in, getting a check, paying back some student loans and all sorts of things, right? So I want to try to be as fair as possible to even those types of teachers. But I like your idea of, one, meeting the kids where they are as a coach, right? You come in and let them play and let them show you who they are and what they're capable of, right? You're gonna see your natural born leaders, your ball handlers, your shooters, people who are problematic, all that stuff just from
Absolutely.
observing. So meeting people where they are, observing them, while being okay and humble enough to, I guess, be, allow others to teach you how to properly assess. So that's, again, in school. Chulo Rich right now is talking about coaching. I can bring it to, the father aspect, right? Parenthood. Meet a kid where they are, give them a chance to show you and themselves really who they are, right? And then me being humble enough to be okay with learning how to improve my assessing. I think that's great. So that's the idea of the assessing. I don't want to get too bogged down, right? So, let's take a I don't know if I'm gonna say a commercial break, but we'll just I don't know, we'll let the video talk for us. How about that? What do you think? Sound okay?
I can't hear it yet.
Here we go.
Are we ready?
Yeah, let me just change this.
I'm ready when you are.
All right, for sure.
Very well then. Yeah, I did it. Yeah, I did it. These just ain't lyrics. I really did it. I really killed him. As for the body, I really hit it. I am the reason Jeffrey went missing. I am the reason Jeffrey not living. Jeffrey a bitch. I'll kill him again. It wasn't just me. I had help from my friends, Donnie and Tim. They got the guns, no gun license and registered ones. Paul and Kate wasn't involved, but they sell drugs. Yeah, they move weight like a U-Haul. Jim and Cornelius, they don't pay their taxes. IRS, come get their black asses. Fuck you talking about, nigga? I don't give a fuck about none of this shit, nigga. I've been doing this shit, nigga. I kill niggas. I sell drugs, nigga. Getting money, nigga. I post it all on my Instagram, nigga, so y'all know that's how I'm living, nigga. Follow me, bitch. Give a fuck about none of that, nigga. Yeah. I beat women. I do it for sport, get tickets on purpose and don't show up to court. I got chlamydia, I pass it on purpose. I'm not gonna treat it, I hope every bitch get it.
Hey, take 5.
What happened?
What took you so long to stop?
Right?
No, that was great. That was great. I gotta take a phone call. I just gotta call the FBI. I'll be back.
Oh man. So look, man, that was courtesy of YouTuber Long Beach Griffey. He does these little skits. So that could be a possible, I mean, because this stuff really happens, right? You see he had the British accent, right? He's going at, he's got, I don't know what's in his glass. He got his little pink coat on or whatever. And then the beat comes on, he tells a story, right? This is definitely, you know, what he's doing the skit about is definitely kind of tying into what we're talking about. Could be the end result, right, of someone who wasn't taught properly, right?
That to me, that right there, you know, and shout out to him in the video. You know what I mean? He's acting. You know what I mean? So, you know, no shade when I say what I say. You feel me? But
Yeah.
I would be looking at, you know, something like that as, you know, and they exist. They got guys like that running around, millionaires, man. Got everybody convinced and they love them. You know what I mean? And it's one thing to be, well, I guess he was, you know, he was black. He just was English or some shit. But I would consider that a culture vulture. You know what I mean? That's somebody taking what we call our culture, what we have adopted, the few things that work for us in some sense. You know what I mean? And they're eating it. You know what I mean? They're pecking at it. They're taking it from us. You know, so like I said, I call that a culture vulture.
So I had a special guest.
Oh, for sure. You know, I know how that goes.
Look, man, I can live this pandemic life. You know, kids rolling around here. Every once in a while, they slip through the cracks.
I know how that works.
Yeah, man. So we talk about, first of all, helping people with intention. Then we want to talk about follow through, right? But first, you need to set your actual intentions, right? Like, if you're going to be one of these people who are trying to suppress and all that sort of thing, like, we get your role. We got it, right? You don't want me to come up while you can't elevate yourself. So the best thing you can do is kind of push me down, sort of thing, right? So the ideal is really trying to understand, like, what can we do to, first of all, set appropriate assessments and intentions beneath that, and sort of, I guess, you know, follow through. It's the idea of letting these kids breathe, but at the same time showing them the ropes, you know, things that are rooted in reality. As Manny talks about cultural appropriation, like, huge thing, right?
Absolutely.
Lenny Luna, man, I'm glad to see you back. Some New Mexico representation here. And like I said before, if you guys want to come on and join the conversation, we're doing culture talk. We're trying to figure out the culture, right? This week's focus is on good teaching, whether it's our teachers in schools, the old man at the workplace, right? Whatever.
So
everything's a lesson.
hit our second point again.
Second point, follow through, right? And beneath that is trying to understand letting kids breathe, right?
So with that, you know, with following through, And since I'm using coaching to compare these things uh, to help get my point off, I really okay. I want to tie it together. Give me that point one more time, and I'm gonna tie it together.
No. You're good. We're talking about the culture of good teaching. So we had some classroom examples. We had some coaching examples. We had some parenthood examples. The idea of setting the tone with as far as knowing how to assess, right? Be okay with you being humble enough to learn how to assess people's talents and inclinations and passions a little bit better, right? Then we're talking about, helping with intention, right? If your intention is to keep someone down because you can't elevate yourself, then, I don't really have space, energy, or time for you, right?
Absolutely.
But then
And
within all of that, it's the ideal of meeting people where they are. Like your example, Chulo, was to, as a basketball coach, I just let the kids get out there and play. We coaches sit back and just let them play. We'll see who emerge as a ball handler, a rebounder, a hustler. Who cares about playing team ball versus me, right? Who's going to emerge as a natural leader, right? So being able to take that same concept and apply it to just about everything, right? And as soon as we get our assessment game together and we're able to better assess, students, players, neighbors, kids, whatever, right? Co-workers, whatever. Then we can move to that second level, which is follow through. So we set those intentions. What is the follow through, right? And our first point is letting kids breathe, right? Or
absolutely,
letting people breathe, meeting where they are, set the intentions, and then letting them breathe, which means letting them make mistakes, right?
absolutely.
That means
I feel
working
like
within the community with a safety net, which doesn't really happen in our community, right?
absolutely,
Oh, and
absolutely.
by the
Which
way, if you want to click that link and join us in the conversation, feel free to do so. Appreciate that. Right there. So yeah, so that's where we're at now. Talk to me. What do you think?
well, and I love everything you're saying, and just to piggyback off of it again with the coaching thing. I feel like as when you are a coach, your intentions are set when you walk out there. Sometimes it's a contract that hasn't been seen. You know what I mean? Coach usually has one somewhere though. He comes in day one of the season, he leaves at the end of the season. In
Hmm.
between those 2 points of time, he has an agenda of things that he wants to get done. Overall agenda, and then inside of that overall agenda, puts together bullet points, which are the children. You know what I mean? Each
Right.
child is different. You know what I mean? I can't put the whole group into this box, even if they're point guards. Even if I got 5 point guards in one box, they're still different.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I have to look at their strengths and their weaknesses and use them accordingly. Because I may have
Right.
5 point guards in the box at the beginning of that practice session. By the end of that session, one of those guys may be a power forward. Nobody saw that before. You know what I mean? But I'm looking at the guy. He got 11 rebounds. I got to get him out of there. You know,
So when you're talking about putting someone in the box, so the coaching analogy to students, I think it would be comparable to talk about standardized testing, right? You have one test to test thousands of kids a year. And that's supposed to tell you, okay, that you need to go into this career. We need to push this one into that career, right? These standardized, I guess sort of psych evals, the kind of or maybe career, like we do with the who is it? The like the attendance office, right? Where your counselor brings you in, you take an assessment, right? This standardized assessment, and it's supposed to tell me like what job I'm supposed to have.
exactly.
You can't do that. 7 point whatever billion people on the planet, each one of us has a different genetic makeup. How or have why, right, and how are we using all of these standardized practices, bell
Okay.
schedules, and subject matter, and even how to teach kids. You know, that's where I
Right.
kind of, when I hear you talk about players, like I can't force everybody to be a point guard. You can't force Ben Simmons to be a shooter, right? You can't turn him into Kobe Bryant because you think, hey, he's a little twitchy here, he's fast, he's athletic. I'm gonna turn him into Kobe Bryant. Like, no, let's figure out what Ben Simmons does well, and hey, man, just be great at that. You know,
Right.
versus
That's
trying to
that's
force people. Yeah,
that's where everybody messes up is having your own vision. You're a coach. You're not playing anymore. You have to
right,
use what you have. You can't play. So I have to take
gotcha.
these guys and what they can do and make it work for us. You know what I mean? Absolutely. Very good. Ben Simmons does not shoot. You know what I mean?
Just not shoot. You can't make it no shooting guard.
So
You can't force that
I'm not
people.
gonna ask him to shoot. What I am gonna do, set a pick, allow him to get to the basket. That's what he wants to do. If he sees a pass along the way,
Right,
he'll make it. He might. If not, he'll do it on somebody. I'm cool with that. That's what he does. You know what I mean?
right.
If I need somebody to shoot it, I'll look to somebody else. you know.
So I feel like, I keep going back to the school example, right?
hmm
The idea, we talked about this before. Like here in our schools, they have this idea of the pyramid, right? At the top of the pyramid, you have the student, right? The two base points are parent and teacher. And we're supposed to be the safety net for these kids to go out, explore, learn, take chances, and be able to make mistakes and fall back in it. Now we have social media who's saying you better not get one thing wrong in your tweets or IG accounts, right? Or you're done. You got, especially in the black community, hey, as soon as you get 18, you're frapping gone. I don't want to hear from you. I don't want to see you. You know what I mean? Get out of here, right? Whereas in other communities, hey man, move back in with your husband or wife if you need to. Like we want to make sure that you thrive. We want to make sure that you make it. So talk to me a little bit about this lack of a safety net in our community and how we can strengthen it.
I mean, absolutely, we do not have safety nets in most areas. Um, as far as school is concerned, yeah, it's supposed to be the parent, the teacher, then the student. Um, Usually something's missing there. Um, I know in my case, growing up, uh, once I got to a certain age, it was kind of like, look, man, if you don't get this stuff, you're gonna be the dumb one. So I don't know what else to tell you. Though
Right.
I understood that, and I understood where she was coming from. That ain't the way we want to apply that. We
Right.
don't want to, because if I pick the wrong option, I'm lost. You know what I mean?
Right.
Uh, and I'm yours. You don't want to do that. You know what I mean? So we don't want to send our children out uh, knowing they don't know, them telling us they don't know, and then, well, I told you, 18 to even
You
and
need to
figure it
go.
out.
I need you gone.
So yeah,
Meanwhile, kings and queens, empresses, presidents, and everyone who's running it, like if you look at how they operate, everyone's under the same roof, right? I may have I may have my kids, I may have my parents, right? And think about that small community within your home, right? Especially if everyone is able-bodied and able to work and earn. So now this whole household, bills, raising kids, everything comes exponentially easier, right?
I
And
say it takes a village.
takes a village, right?
Only villages we got left are that they put the name village on the outside of the projects now. So like village is like a bad thing or some shit.
Oh man, right, the village, right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So the idea is you look around and our villages are pretty depleted. I'm staying in my own example, black people. And we do a great job with doing the best with what we can, what we have, right? It's that analogy we used before. You have a bag of rose buds, right? You sprinkle them over some concrete, and 1 out of 100 may grow into a rose. And instead of saying to everybody, hey, maybe we should plant these seeds in better soil. We're saying, well, look, if that rose can do it, why didn't the rest of them do it? Why don't they pull themselves up by their bootstraps? So it's this weird balance we have to strike as black people in this country of one saying, yeah, I do need help, right? But I also don't want to get it to a point where I'm completely dependent upon somebody else. I got to make sure I'm, working from the inside out, making sure you get yourself together, your family, your household, your neighborhood, and keep expanding as you can. That's kind of where I'm at. Everything I want to do is to one, not just point to a boogeyman under the bed that's the root cause of all my problems without properly assessing myself and then setting myself up to be successful later. And thus doing
Most
so
definitely.
for my kids coming up behind me.
Most
Right?
definitely. And the way I think of that is, uh, most of us know there's a system out here. You know, if you don't, hey, you don't. But most of us know that we're working against something, and something's working against us.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is. You're not going to change it. You know what I mean? Not today, not by yourself. Um, is it possible? Yes. Take a lot of different things. You know what I mean? But what you can do is understand that it's there and navigate yourself around it. Maybe even
Right.
through it if you're strong enough. But personally, I like to know that these things are there and just go around them. It's not necessarily or necessary to meet everything head on at this
Mm-hmm.
age and where I'm trying to go in life. Um, I can't collide with everything anymore. Um, as much as
Right.
my brain wants to, um, and my heart, um, I know the end result of those things. You know what I mean? As a black man, a collision of any kind is bad. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's on purpose or by accident. So
So there's something that's a very good point there. There are a lot of things out here that are actively working against us, and we can save black people. But remember, if you've been paying attention to the shows, I'm talking to you, the audience, especially people who are with us week after week. One, thank you. Please continue. Two, I hope you guys are paying attention to things like that he just said. Like there is a system set up to work against many people. And one of the things that we're talking about, like you and I are obviously black. Like there's no getting away with it. So our examples, our issues, and our problems are gonna seem very black focused. But if you peel that back a little bit and understand, we talked on the other show how you need $4.4 million to be a part of the 1% worldwide. 4.4 million. So when I kind of do what we talked about, right? Sit back and assess, right? And thinking about how to follow through appropriately. And I'm watching the things that's going on. This vaccination stuff, the mask mandates, all that stuff. You got a bunch of broke people. I mean, compared to people who are millionaires, right? You got a bunch of broke people yelling and blaming and fighting each other on behalf of a Biden who's you're not even on his radar, or a Trump who you're definitely not on his radar, right? Like, why do we rush to curse out and abuse and just really talk bad to our neighbors at the behest of people like the systems like the Democratic system and the Republican system, right? Which I'm glad Craig Jude is in the chat, man. He opened my eyes up to this little video, and shoot, man, I think we. Sorry, I'm doing this on the fly. I should have had this set up. My mistake.
it's all good. It's all good.
But yeah,
But I think a lot of that, man, is just to be in conversations, man. Talking about why people say this and that. I think they just want to have be in the conversation.
right. So we're gonna play this video, man. This is sort of breaking down like the real difference, right? While I call us broke because we have money, right? We're doing stuff. And, I know my wife and I are working hard. You and your missus, and many other people like us. People in the comments, in the chats, people just watching. We're hard workers, right? But when you talk about a bunch of us going at each other, right, after each other's throats, while this comparison is out there, it's incredible. Go ahead, take a look.
Rice, where each grain of rice was $100,000. And that was to show you the scale of $1 billion. Well, a lot of you guys asked me, well, how much does Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos have in terms of rice? So that was my mission. I went to Target, I bought a digital food scale, I came home, and then I weighed the rice that was worth $1 billion from earlier. I did the math in my head, and I went to Costco. I got the rice, I brought it home, and once I brought it home, I went to work. I also want to say that I have 5 families that are going to take this unused rice, so it's totally not feasible. Okay, so the moment you've been waiting for, 100K, 1 million, 1 billion, Jeff Bezos has 122 of these, or 58 pounds of rice. If each grain of rice was 100K. Like, look how big this is, guys. Let me show you the scale here. I'm gonna put a keyboard in just for fun. Look how deep that goes. That's insane. This is Jeff Bezos' new house. That's $145 million in LA. And then, oh my God.
Being in business?
So now that's what we're really I don't want to say up against, because man, shout out to Jeff Bezos who's able to accumulate that sort of wealth, right?
No doubt, no doubt. And before you go any further, yeah, shout out to Jeff Bezos. You said that we have money. I don't have any money. I just want to throw that out there. If anybody may be watching, maybe wondering or needs something.
No.
I don't have any money. He might have. I don't have any money. I don't know.
Right, man.
But anyway,
well, it's all relative. No, I'm
Yeah.
saying when I say we broke people, right? It's not like we're out here panhandling, anything like that. But it's two different games. It's many more than that, but it's two main games going on, right? And I feel like racism is the easiest thing to throw out there, and it's definitely something that's happening, right? It exists. There are systems built in this country that go all the way to the beginning. But what I like to do is I play a little game of like, yeah, that's how they treat black people, but let's go even further back. How do they treat themselves? And if you look at history, it's very, 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 very bloody. You know, so it seems to me, if you pull it back and look at it scientifically, like they just are doing what they're taught. This is the plan. This is the standardized way. Like if you look at how they did each other, you know, Scots versus Irish, and you know the UK. I mean, won the UK at the time, but right, Britain versus all their surrounding enemies. Like this was a bunch of white dudes destroying each other.
That's where you got to know. You know, that's where history and education and all that. Everybody really, you know, talks that woke shit and they understand this and that. You know. Racism does not mean I don't like you because you're a different color than me. That's not what racism means. Racism at the origin of the word, in the beginning of it, was a literal race to wealth. When the boats arrived in this country, there were English, there were British, there were Spanish, there were African, there were all kind of different people arriving here. And the goal was get the money, get the resources, you know, get all that you can. And that's where racism came from. Ism is a suffix, and it means set in place, not to change. So that means once I get to the money, to the resources, to the whatever, I'm now setting this in place, not to change. That's what racism is. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Right.
I don't know where they put this twist on it and made it mean I don't like your colored shirt.
Well, this is so again, talk about history, right? If you think about man, I'm drawing. First, let me address this first. You want to take that one?
Yeah, man. This is from Craig Jude. He says, history has proven that there is an upper and a lower class. Yes. We try to artificially create a middle class throughout history, but does it really exist?
Right. And see that's the thing, right? Like even if you go back to medieval times and all this sort of thing, right? It's the idea that in Britain, the idea was we don't want our working people to be educated. What do they need it for? They don't need to know how to read. To the point that it was banned in a lot of places. Right? Now this isn't black and white at this time. This is the nobility versus the plebeian people, right? The plebs, the poor folks. Right? So the idea is they don't need to know how to read. All you guys gotta understand is this: we own this land, and we'll allow you to work the land as long as you're kicking up taxes, and in exchange, we'll protect you politically and through war, right? So the idea was give us a bunch of money, and yes, I know you're hungry, but we need to look like we can afford to overeat so we can stun on this other country, right? Hey, we're all Brits here, right? And they all buy into it, and the ideal of, the Pope at the time trying to say that, hey, I need you guys to watch out for the Scots and the Spanish and all these different people. Those were the others at the time, right? But that was until a certain group of people started compiling information and they had a different way of doing things, right? They they decided what we're gonna do is we're gonna make sure the poorest among us, all the way up to our king, is well educated, well housed, well fed, right, well clothed, and doing so will create this huge community, right? This huge community of people um, who are just educated and healthy, and in doing so we can spread our message, whether it's religion or just commerce, right? Trade, these sort of things, right? And then when that happens, what ends up happening is the pope at the time then decides to make a decree that, hey, you're no longer Spanish, you're no longer Irish, you're no longer Scots, and we're not any longer at each other's throats. We're all white. And let me tell you about this monster that's right across the channel that's seeking to devour your children, right? I mean, it's crazy how the people who are kind of, at the upper echelon of society, they actively make a plan and decide that, okay, let's otherize a group, and that will mobilize our entire country, whether no matter how much they hate us, towards that focus, right?
And I feel that that's them looking at, that's number one, that's setting your intentions. Somebody sat down, had a meeting, set their intentions. Somebody said, you know what, this will be good for us, this won't. So we got to figure some things out here. You know what I mean? As far as we're concerned, and I only know this because they put it in their rule book or the Constitution or whatever you want to call these things.
Right.
It still reads that I am 3/5 a human being, and it reads that based on them having to have numbers for the census report, and white people saying, well, hey, okay, they counted me, they counted the whole community, but I got 19 niggas back here, nobody counted these niggas. I got 156 niggas. Well, so that's where the number came from. So they really pay attention to where our blood is. And as they say, one drop of African blood, and you are considered to be non-white. That's what it is.
Absolutely. Look, man, we're getting heavy, and as we get heavy, we always want to take a little chuckle break. But yeah, let's just watch something from another culture. This is from Korea. All right. Let's see if you can pick out some similarities between Korea and possibly us.
Similarities.
I wanna see your reaction to this one. I'm gonna just put us to the side here. All right. All right, here we go.
Work.
Give it to me,
So you know what? They got everything they got is better than ours. How they get the eyes to get the dance?
Hoop, hit it, get it,
Okay.
Hey, working hard, that little
That's
kid's
not a
birthday
Chinese
party.
guy though. That's not. I want to see him take the mask off. I need the
Oh,
mask.
get out of here.
I need to
No,
know who's under there.
there's a whole. Let me tell you something. Especially, I mean, okay, let me calm down here. So when I went to Australia, one of Australia's like maybe not native, but people from Australia, one of their biggest gripes were, oh, these tourists. These tourists come in here and they blah blah blah. And you know, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna lie to you, Mr. Rich. I immediately thought like, man, I can't believe they out here talking about Mexicans like that. Because that's all I hear. That's what I see between the lines. But no.
Yeah.
They're versions of I guess, the close neighbor, them being an island continent, is like Japan. So they're talking about all the Japanese people in there with their cameras and stuff. I'm just like, seriously? Like, this is what y'all over here hating on, man? That gum Japanese. But the ideal is they love American culture. And when I say, Korea, I mean, you got to think about North Korea's situation where there are people willing to risk death, Tony, to sneak in some American jeans or, a DVD or a CD. And they look at this stuff and they like study it like their lives depend on it. And so I guarantee you that's a little Korean dude.
I don't get it, man. As much as I get it, I don't get it. You know what I mean?
Right.
What I do know is we are the salt of the earth. You know what I mean? So we do put a little seasoning, a little soul on everything we do. So it is what it is.
Right. So get into that Moor talk a little bit, man. When the Moors were, approaching not through violence for the most part, because there's always violence, but not through violence because they didn't even have their own standing army. Right, because they were more engaged at education and culture and expanding that because they understood that was the true power. Right, it's the same thing Frederick Douglass said. Once my mistress was trying to teach, commit suicide because of his predicament, rather than even slit our throats, we his captives. Right, that's a very
everything.
old idea. So
that's everything. That's the government. That's the Men in Black, the guy with the clicking thing in your face. You know what I mean? You can't handle shit. Apparently,
the neuralizer, I think is what it's called.
Yeah,
that's my nerdism coming out, man. So yeah, man. So the idea of again, we got to sweep away this line of thinking. I really want to toss this from all of my shows. It's not about the boogeyman under our bed, right? It's about you yourself working on you. And then expanding it to significant other, children, community, so on and so forth. So one of the things we have to, pay attention to is how people who are successful at it, right? And this isn't necessarily assimilation, but what this is understanding people, and they're we were talking about safety nets, right? Like a safety net for us is like, man, you got 18 years to understand the whole world, and then I need you out of my house, That's the black way for a lot of people. But for other groups of people, that safety net is college, right? I'm going to educate you, and not only in how the teachers are teaching you, but I also want to teach you critical thinking. I mean, you got people who take their kids on vacations because, hey, these things that you're studying about, how about you look at them and converse with the natives and understand history in real life?
Hey, man,
this
that's
is a real
so
thing that
sad,
happens.
man. And it is a real thing, but unfortunately, us, and when I say us, I'm thinking of myself as a parent. I'm thinking of myself as somebody that's lived into another decade. It's got a generation behind me. I remember some things about life previous cell phones and all of this computer. You know what I mean? And life is hard in certain areas. You know what I mean? Most of us have really tried and thrived and put one foot in front of the other to change our situations and make sure that our kids didn't have situations that were similar or worse. We all tried to elevate them. So for my son, and he's younger, so he ain't got to the point where, they might talk about other countries, but yeah, we're not doing that yet. but I have taken him down to random hoods and pointed out random, random junkies and different shit I know he didn't want to be. You know what I
Right.
mean? But that's necessary too. You know what I mean? Because he think
Absolutely.
everything's sweet. You know, he ain't never seen the rough side necessarily. You know,
Same
so,
here. Same here, bro. When I tell you, like, when I'm telling my kids why it's important to practice discipline, right? Like, don't pile your plate up, eat a little bit, then try to throw the rest away. Like, you know what this sort of thing leads to?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Then I turned to my 600-pound life, and we gawk at the big. You know who I'm talking about. I ain't got
Right. Shout out TLC. Right, man. But no, I take them sometimes just, and I know this is some people will probably gonna hear this and be like, why would you do that? Right. You'll have this situation where one of our daughters always thought like, hey, I got an idea. I want to go play. And so they would just leave the house. And, I'd come out of my room or wherever and, looking for it. She's just gone. You know what I mean? So the panic sets in. I'm calling the phone. I'm looking around the neighborhood. And I was just at so-and-so's house. Like, we had no clue. You don't understand what goes off. Come on, get in the car. Where we going? Oh, we're going to Walmart. Get to Walmart. I want you to look at this wall. Tell me what you see. Oh, missing people, Dad. Like, yeah. See that little girl right there? They still can't find her. That little boy over there still can't find him. Look at this grown person up there. That's an adult. That's what the world calls an adult. 19 years old, right? You should be able to just, you understand life, right? At 19, even though studies show that the human brain doesn't finish developing until age 24. Whatever, right? I need you to move more cautiously and understand why you need to. Right? I drive them by these, we have these little villages in certain areas where it's just, stretched out a bunch of homeless people,
again,
tents and
villages.
stuff. Again, villages, right. There's that word again, right. I need them to understand that. But the ideal of other cultures who, one, I got grandma and grandpa imparting their knowledge onto me, who's still a growing adult, and my children, right? That knowledge that they've accumulated over all those years. Like, if you think about a Warren Buffett, what makes him so great at trading? Well, he's lived for quite a while, and he's been working during that time. So he's seen just about every situation. He's seen what happens if this type of stock, if I hold out, what happens in the end. This type of stock, I don't know about this one. You get out and get out soon and stay away from others like it. Like, think about that. That's what they do. They raise them a certain way, and then what is the testing ground? Where's the safety net? College. Go off to yourself for 4 to 10 years and see if you can manage yourself there. If not, hey, come on back afterwards. You can get a job right away.
That's a big deal. That's a big deal. You're never able to try as hard as you can if you're always in fear that when you fail, life's over. You know,
think about the trauma that we're giving our kids, the anxiety level, right? At 18, you're out of here and you need to make it on your own. What happens if I don't? Hey, man, you see them homeless people? That's you.
And you're right.
After just telling that story, right?
You're absolutely right.
Like, what am I doing to even my kids and their psyche, right?
You're absolutely right. Now, I do not agree with the 18 and out. I'm not an 18 and outer. You know what I mean? My ideal circumstance, once they become that age, I will have acquired something that, if need be, they know they can go there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Specifically for that purpose. They choose what they do with that after that, their business. But it essentially for me, that's what I would like to have, a rental property, something, or that they can be held down until they take it over. And after they take it over, they sell it, get the money. I don't care, but you have a place to be so that you can focus on doing what you want to do and trying and taking risks. Back to the coaching standpoint, shout out Phil Jackson. one of his quotes, chances make champions. You know what I mean? If you don't try, um, if you don't take that chance, if you don't take that risk, you will never be a champion. You know what I mean? Risk versus reward. You know what I mean? You don't take a risk, you will not be rewarded. You know what I mean? In our community, we use that shit in the wrong way. The risk is always the shit that we can't pay
Mhm.
for. You know what I mean? It's always things that when they go wrong, the payment is too great because the payment is you, payment is me, payment is my
Right.
time, payment is way too great. You know what I mean? So
Right,
yeah,
man. My main man Luna is gonna be senator or president someday. I'm calling out, bro. Remember, you heard it here first. Warren Buffett manipulates the market with the amount of money Berkshire Hathaway has invested in the market. And for those of you who may not know, Berkshire Hathaway, help me out here, Luna. Is that one of those? What do you do? Where you have to have like millions of dollars to even buy into it, right? And then they take those combined millions
that is
and
so
they place
simple.
it in the market.
That is
Yeah.
a dice game. So if you shooting dice with me and you show up with $200, if
Uh-huh.
I got 10,000 in my pocket, ain't no way you're gonna leave and win. It's not. It's you're gonna run out. You know what I mean? You're not gonna be able to cover the bets. At the end of the day, you're just gonna lose. And they're
Right.
not doing anything different than that. It's just got a big, big
Yeah,
veil
more
over it.
terms. More terms.
A lot
Yeah.
more terms. You know what I mean?
Throwing their weight around, so to
I
speak,
don't see
right?
court any different. You know what I mean? I don't see court any different, or any of those different. All them guys in suits,
Hedge
I see
fund.
gangster shit. You know, they come in
Yeah.
with the suits on, but I see you doing gangster shit like a corporate takeover. That's it's. Think about
Yeah.
what's happening there. That's some gangster shit. You know what I mean? You just
But again, like what people choose to do with the accumulated knowledge and experience, it's not the point that I was making. Like Luna, you're absolutely right. I think there's a documentary on HBO Max about Warren Buffett. I think it's extraordinary. This dude talks about how his father and his mother encouraged him to read and invest and do certain things when he was a little boy. I never heard about a hedge fund until I was an adult. You know what
now.
I mean? Or
Did
maybe
his
I heard
parents
it, but I
have a
didn't know what
hedge
it
fund?
was. No, my parents didn't. My grandparents didn't. Their
No,
great
Warren
grandparents didn't.
Buffett's.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, no,
Right.
no, no, no. They didn't have a hedge fund. Hold on, they didn't have a hedge fund. Let me see.
So
Let me
the
see. Let me see.
ideas that they talked to him about, you don't think they were already involved in those?
Oh yeah, yeah. But that's what I'm saying. But they were operating from the platform that their parents left behind for them, and so on and
Absolutely.
so forth. Bro, we didn't even
Absolutely.
get into the school. Look, we overtime. What do you think? You do a little overtime?
Hey man, it's on you, man. It's your
So
call.
look, man, we didn't even get into this school shortage thing, right? So he says, sorry, Mr. Luna says, president never just an active member of the community. So yeah, so we're talking about platforms, right? And we're talking about how loving and nurturing they were, and giving them the information that they had. It was that simple. They had information and they gave it to their child. For a long time, especially in this country, we were not allowed to even learn or attempt to learn how to read. Now understand, while this child is being nurtured and, hey man, you need to read, Billy. You need to eat right. You need to stay active. You need to be okay with taking your time with things, right? This guy bought outdated candy and sold it for a higher price, and thus beginning the little seedlings of the monster that um a Berkshire Hathaway has, that allows him to give away. I don't even know how much he gave away to the Bill and Melinda Gates Fund, but it's quite substantial. But what he did is exactly what you did. He showed up to the dice game, threw
Do
his
they
weight
need money?
around, and waited
Bill
around.
and Bill and Melinda are struggling. Are they struggling? Okay.
No, 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 no. I said he showed up. No, 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 no. Not struggling. He donated to their company,
Oh yeah.
the Bill and Melinda Gates
Oh, well, shout out to them.
fund.
We got companies that could stand to take donations. I know Bill and Melinda, really need everybody's help. But Yeah,
I'm
well,
telling you.
maybe
Now it's
donate to
wait, but it's okay to say that. But if you look at the list, I wish I'm gonna have to find that link and put it in the comments. When you look at what, so he didn't really donate to people over his time at Berkshire, right? What he did was he just amassed a huge amount of money, and then he decided, okay, I'm gonna give most of my money away, right? And him doing that to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, right, allows for so many different things. So we don't want to take that lightly, right? I mean, it
I
sounds
don't I
like
don't I don't doubt that.
yeah,
I'm certain he could have given that same amount of money, half, a quarter, 5%, 0.2%, to various organizations that I'm certain would have helped us as well.
right.
But no, not hating, not hating. I would love to see some organization that looks like me, sounds like me, be blessed with funding of that nature.
So you turning me into a Buffett defender. Like, okay, man. Here we go. So your boy Warren Buffett donates another $4.1 billion and resigns from from the Berkshire, right? But I can't remember like the list of, if you look at the list of places where that money goes, because they have to report that, right? A
Right,
lot of people don't really look at that stuff. I mean, me being one of them, it's
right.
boring. But it does go to a lot of people that look just like us. You know what I mean?
Okay,
But
okay.
he is not the norm. He is one of those people who are kind of outside. Like he's an outlier,
Well, I
right?
want to look into that.
Usually it's like a rotation of, I'm gonna give to this university. They're gonna let my kid in, and that's sort of a
Hmm.
rotation, right? But he gave to causes that he believed in. It was gonna better the world, and you can't better the world and leave certain groups of people out. You know what I mean? It's that Martin Luther King thing that he was saying in one of his speeches, talking about why you should love your neighbor. Because if you don't help your neighbor when he's hungry, if you don't help him fix his roof when his roof is leaky, all this stuff, right? He goes on for at length, right? Well, what happens when your neighbor is struggling so much and so desperate? What do they usually do? Do they drive 50 miles across to the nice side of town and rob a bunch of white folks? Nope. I'm gonna go right next door. And I got to steal this TV or, jack this car in their own neighborhood. So why it's important to give to your neighbor? Hold on, Warren Buffett. Hey, my boy
And then people
Luna
say that
looking
stuff
like a
like it's a
producer.
people say that like it's a choice and like it's a they're gonna hurt people in their own neighborhoods and this and that. Them niggas don't have money to get out the neighborhood. They gotta hurt somebody in the neighborhood. I understand how it looks, but I also
Right,
understand how it feels, and I've been a part of it. So, and not only have I been a part of it, I'm a part of the latter part of it. So I can look back and see what they've been doing all this time. It's not new. You know what I mean? I
not new.
understand
Right,
why everybody's angry. The shit happens every year. It gets hot. Niggas get shot. It's not gonna stop until things change. You know what I mean? So
right. So
I
now
look
we get
forward to
to
some of the
how to
changes.
make things change. And so we understand education, resources, and all that sort of thing. But how do we acquire those things? Right? I mean, it's going to take a significant amount, one, of work on our own, and two, a certain amount of philanthropy.
We as a culture have to work on making education cool again. There was a point in time where being smart was cool. You know what I mean? Specifically, I remember when my brother was in high school and shows like A Different World were out, highlight black kids going to school. Um, it kids wore the medallion, the African medallion necklaces. All the music was intellectual. Everybody was trying to show they was smart. You know what I mean? Because that was cool. You know. Now it's like the dumber you talk, the cooler you are. If I
Right. But you
If I
gotta
make
think
it to
about
where
it.
you can't understand what the fuck I said, I'm the coolest guy in the world. But if you can actually understand what I'm saying and I articulate to you now there's something wrong with me. You know,
But
we,
you gotta
we gotta.
understand the genius in it. I know it's pretty bad to look at it that way, but that's what it is. The
Oh, for
genius of
sure.
that
But
is
that's
to
not
get
new.
somebody.
That's
Yeah,
not new. Ice cream. We love ice cream. What's your favorite flavor?
strawberry or vanilla is a tie.
All right, that's not how I meant that, but yeah, that's mine too. Cause it just I think it's a you know what I'm saying. But uh, America's favorite flavor is
Vanilla.
vanilla. Okay,
Yeah.
vanilla ice cream is color
White,
white, but a vanilla bean is
black.
black.
Mm-hmm.
So vanilla ice cream was black. They just didn't like the way that shit looked because it was like,
Oh
okay, it's
no.
black, tastes too good, gotta change it white. You
I
know.
feel like there's a huge contention for chocolate. But and this is my point, right, to a lot of things. There's a way to overcome, right? There's a way of overcome. We just gotta look for it. Like when you talk about, black people feeling like, we talked about what was it, hashtag Black AF, right? Or he's talking about Sunday's best. Like black people equated looking great and sounding a certain way to acceptance because when those slave owners dressed up their slaves to bring them to church to kind of parade them around, like, look how great of a person I am, right? Look how great I am. Look at that's my slave over there. But don't he look good? And then seeing the difference in how they were treated, they just made the direct connect to like, man, put these clothes on and white folks love me.
And
Okay,
that's real. We
gotta
we
look fly.
we as a culture have to start doing some of the things that we say. Like in the culture, we always talking about peep game, peep game, peep game. Well, do it, do it. Um, that's a part of the game. You know what I mean? Shout out to the niggas back then that did peep game. Shout out to the niggas that instead of peacocking, they was able to say, "Man, fuck them suits. Let's learn to read." You know, that was the real shit that they was doing. You know what I
Right.
mean? So we still have to look at this game and not the things that they put in our face, the things that they hide from us. They hiding it for a reason. You know what I mean? Go see why they hiding it. I bet it's to your benefit. You know what I mean? So we just
Right.
as a culture, we need to change the way we look at that.
Yeah, man. But look, there's plenty more to talk about. Maybe we'll make this good teaching thing a part two next week. But as per usual, hold on, we got a late ringer here. It's quite the conundrum because I think Chulo hit that on the head. People want to be cool, dumb, but the way out of so many situations is using education to get where you want, good college job, etc. Right, and so that's the reoccurring theme of the night, right? Like we all kind of understand how to get out of some stuff, but what we're not peeling back the layers of is the fact that there is one very small group of people on this earth, right? And it's not black, white, any of that, right? It's the extremely wealthy, right? They have set way back when a bunch of systems up to make it so much more difficult for anybody who makes under $4.4 million than themselves. So the only way out is to really truly understand that system and stop with all this peacocking, stop with all these distractions, right? There is no reason, Tone, Chulo Rich, that I should be in the streets arguing with some Karen or some Trump supporter about a mask mandate. You know what I mean? When the people controlling everything are just sitting back and it's business as usual. You know? So it's incumbent upon me to try to understand that as much as possible and to try to get as many people around me to understand that, and then we'll start to see true change. Yeah. But
Absolutely,
last
brother.
word before we go, Mr. Rich, as usual.
Hey man, last words before we go. First off, thank y'all for tuning in. You know what I mean? We'll be back next Saturday. We'll continue our conversation on the culture. And in the meantime, we got to get to that rice. We got to get some more of that rice. I'll let y'all.
For you.